Good evening, friends. It's Wednesday night, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern, which means it is time for Draft for Upside. This week, as has been the tradition lately, we kick it off with just me, Johnny Danger, and our good friend Chris Emmerich. Big Score, EMK, chilling with us from down in Florida. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing good. It's nice and hot down here. It's supposed to get into the 90s here coming in the weekend or something of that effect. From what I've been told, I don't really look into that because I just know that it's hot, and I expect it to be hot for a while. So it's how it is.
Well, it poured here all day, stopped in the early afternoon, then the sun came out, and it's just creeping up over 70 here. So, it's warm for us. We like it.
I'm sure you do. That sounds a lot better than mid-90s. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's that just kind of 70 to 74 is like ideal. That's my favorite. Well, you got a beverage in hand, sir. You got a beverage tonight.
No beverages tonight.
What?
No beverages.
Why you gotta break my heart?
You know what? Sometimes you indulge and sometimes you don't indulge. And today I'm not indulging.
This is an unindulgent day. Well, you know what? I was only disappointed in you because I'm disappointed in me. For I have a nice tall glass of Northern Michigan crystal clear water.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well,
yeah.
Some days it's, you just gotta, bite the bullet and not take down any alcohol.
It's true, man. I've been on antibiotics for a week and a half now, and I'm still feeling sick. So I'm thinking maybe just knock it off for a couple days and see if that helps the cause.
Yeah, maybe that'll help.
I believe I was sick last Wednesday or Tuesday night when we were recording as well.
I think you've been sick at least half the podcast that you've done. So
recently, yes. I have had like a 2-year sprint where I was just basically not sick at all, and then the last 2 months, I've just feels like I feel good for a week, then sick for a week. So, what are you gonna do?
I don't know.
And this is just the time that I'm out and about doing an absolute large amount of outdoor activity this time of year. So that's not going to help the cause either.
No, it sure won't.
Nah. But anyways, you know what? You know what's going on right now? Baseball. Baseball is going on right now. And I like baseball. I jammed some lineups in at the last minute. I think we were pretty much kind of on the same page here. We liked Minnesota pretty much the most. We like the Yankees, even though they're a little too expensive to really get a lot of exposure to. Those were kind of my go-to teams, my cheap guys. I played a little Miami. I don't think I played any Pittsburgh. You said you had a little love for Pittsburgh. I did put a couple of contrarian one-off picks in on the Baltimore side as well. But that's kind of where I was at today. Where'd you end up going with the slate tonight?
So I've been kind of scaling it back a little bit recently here. Just waiting to kind of hit the hot streak again and go a little bit hard at it. Because typically, when you're right, I feel like I go in streaks. I'm like one of these hitters. So I've been in a little bit of a slump. I put in 2 lineups. I put in a lineup earlier today. I felt like my hitters were pretty much on point. Faded the Seattle game. Had a little bit of. I shouldn't say Seattle. I faded Seattle. I didn't fade the game. I had a little bit of Texas. Derek Dietrich is like your if it's an afternoon game and the Reds are playing and the pitcher is least questionable, Derek Dietrich is going to hit a home run. It's almost guaranteed. I'd love to look at the splits at home runs he's hit before 4:00 this year. And Zach Davies just, it looked like it was going to happen at some point. So, but tonight I ended up with 2 different lineups. I've got one with Garrett Cole and Nova. So 2 pitchers, same game, but, Nova's 4-4. It gave me the opportunity to go with a little Wilson Contreras at catcher. I've got a Pittsburgh stack here with Josh Bell, Adam Frazier, Gregory Polanco, and Brian Reynolds. And then I've got myself, a little 2-man stack of Tommy Pham and Willie Adames. just Rich Hill has been giving up some home runs and tends to do it more to right-handed hitters. Tommy Pham's probably your best power hitter in that lineup, and Willie has flashed some power the last week or so. So hoping to take advantage of that at a $3,300 price tag. So that's my one lineup. My other lineup was Rich Hill in that lineup. A little Daniel Norris, still getting a little crazy. Pitching kind of was rough, but I've got some John Hicks, some Nicholas Castellanos, Rafael Devers, and then a Minnesota stack. Basically the lefties, the Luis Arraez, Marwin Gonzalez, Max Kepler, Eddie Rosario, and Jorge Polanco. So we'll see how that goes. It's going to be interesting to see how the ownership lies on some of these. I think Minnesota is going to be a spot that attracts a little bit of ownership, but you have, like you said, the Yankees. They were hard to kind of fit because of their prices, and then the Cubs, I felt like were going to be pretty popular as well.
Yeah, I mean, going through here, we had a hard time finding value pitchers, so I think I probably should have gone value and snuck a Yankees lineup in there, because I think it's going to be heavily Scherzer and DeGrom today, and that's what I did, because I just did a 3 max, and I didn't like any of the values at pitching, but I did like some of the value bats. I did play 3 different lineups, 2 of which were Minnesota stacks. One was a Dodgers stack. I thought it was a ample opportunity to maybe go against the stream with the Dodgers. So you know how much I love Jock Peterson. So I got him in there with Beatty and Verdugo and Kiki, with a couple other low priced guys. But Scherzer and DeGrom, I'm hoping for that dual 9-inning shutout game.
So, here's the thing, and, I went with some Dodgers yesterday, and that worked out well with my Verlander lineup. I just wish I had Herman Marquez instead of Caleb Smith, who got pulled rather early in that game, despite, not really needing to be pulled early. The problem that you're going to see is that they've got those lefties like Jock and Verdugo, and they're really cheap first basemen, but they pulled a lot of those guys because the long reliever is going to be a lefty. So it gave me some pause and some concern in terms of stacking them up despite the lower price tag on some of those guys that are typically platoon guys. But
sure. Yep, and I saw that and just went with it anyways, because I did one of these 3 max, and I used the same pitcher for basically all 3 lineups, which is one of the strategies I've used before, and then just kind of switched up the position players and hope that I hit the arms correctly.
Yeah, it looked like the Yankees ownership really wasn't as outrageous as I thought. I mean, Gary Sanchez is over 20%.
I didn't think they'd be that highly owned, to be honest, because the pricing and the very poor quality of low value arms, because you just couldn't fit them in. They were all just too damn expensive. So it's not shocking to me that they are not that high owned.
Well, I mean, look, you got Sanchez, you got Voit at 5%, Sanchez at 22, LeMahieu at 10, Gleyber at 16. I think Frazier was at 15, which is a little bit reactionary to yesterday. But look, the Orioles have given up 100 home runs. They're in Baltimore. It's Dan Straley. It makes sense. You just have to kind of figure out a way to fit them. And I think the value is there. You're just going to take some chances on the arms, but I think you're already taking chances on the arms anyway. I took chances on the arms, and it's not like I stacked the Yankees. But to get any type of these bats, I think you needed to take that chance. And then Kendrick Morales is 20% owned because he was 3,600, so a cheap part of that stack. I just thought
he is the only Yankee that I'm playing today. I do have him in 2 out of the 3 lineups.
Well, I thought LeMahieu was a little overpriced at 4,700. Recent production definitely constituted that yesterday. I did have Clint Frazier. I had him in 2 lineups. I took him out at 1. I wish I had him in both. It really wouldn't have changed the outcome too much for me. I still would have probably cashed around the same thing. But
and DJ did walk to start off the game today.
Yeah, and Benintendi has a hit, and Montana Durapu has a strikeout and a hit allowed. So just watching these scores, kind of Mookie Betts has a walk too. So maybe it was a Boston stack type of day. The other thing
I thought Boston was expensive too. I did like Jackie Bradley Jr. though. I think I did sneak him in one of the lineups.
Yeah, well, good luck to you there.
With his 157 batting average, you mean that's not ideal?
Look, his BABIP is pretty bad. So I mean, there's some level of regression that should come back, but you just have to wonder if he's long for this roster.
Oh, probably not. Probably not.
Well, Daniel Norris starts off his day with an out. I feel pretty good. I've got Rafael Devers at 3%, John Hicks at 2%, and Castellanos at 5%, Norris at 6%, Rich Hill at 6%. So, look, if you told me Rich Hill was going to be 6%, I would have been – that seems a little bit low. I would have thought maybe 8, 10, 12, something like that. But 6%, that's extremely low.
Well, DeGrom has given up a home run already.
Trey
Turner or Adam Eaton, I think, actually. Yeah, Adam Eaton hits a home run in the first inning.
Interesting. I took him out of my dynasty lineup because he was facing DeGrom. I guess that was a mistake. Look, I know we've talked about this a little bit probably before the season and going into the season, and this was a mantra that Jeff Bands was on last year, saying that, high-dollar pitching isn't winning GPPs and target lower arms. And to some extent, I think there was something to it last year, but this year specifically, why go with these guys that are struggling? The DeGrom, Scherzer, both of these guys, even in good matchups, have struggled. They haven't flashed the type of upside consistently that I think constitutes some of those pricing, especially the way that they're pricing up hitters. I mean, in years past, you'd have like 2 or 3 guys, maybe like Mookie Betts, Trout, and one other dude at like 5,000 to 5,500. But, on a regular basis, you've got George Springer at 57, 58, Bellinger at 58. And I think it's a reflection of, the field overall getting sharper and you having to make some of these interesting decisions so we don't all end up with the same lineup in optimal situations. But it's just tough to pay for these guys. Even a guy like Luis Castillo, who, for all accounts, looked like he was a pretty safe guy. When I was deciding between him and Montas, I figured that they had the same ceiling. But I think Castillo had the much, much, much lower or much higher floor and, reaches that ceiling more times than not. And Montas, had another ceiling game. Cleveland has given up quite a few of those, but for some reason, I think there's a perception, at least in my head, that, it's Lindor, it's Ramirez, it's Santana. These guys are legit hitters, but they've just been bad this year. So, I went with Castillo, and he had a floor game reminiscent of, previous years Castillo. I wasn't surprised by Davies' floor game, not in the slightest. Like, he's not the same type of pitcher as Castillo. So, that's why I've shied away from guys like DeGrom, Syndergaard, unless you're just in a really elite strikeout matchup, and Washington's not that to me. I think they're a little dangerous, but like Cole tonight against the White Sox is no different than Verlander last night against the White Sox. These guys strike out a ton, and an elite pitcher, I think, can definitely take advantage of that. So,
yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm praying for the Dodgers right now because I've got 4 of them in my lineup at 3.3% owned, 1.8% owned, 4.5% owned, and 0.6% owned. So let's go Dodgers.
Yeah, hey, yesterday it was the same thing for me, and they got like 11 to 12 points. It was nice because I could put them in that Verlander lineup that I was talking about. Corey Seager stole a base for the first time in 2 years, which was nice. But I think the biggest producer was Max Muncy, and I didn't have him because he was an expensive Dodger. But I'm curious if I can I'm going to try and find out. I know that there was talk of, and I might not be able to, but there was talk of the Marlins possibly garnering some